Hello, hello. This is a sound check on the live stream, and it looks to be coming through okay on this end. Okay, this is the 11th Kesh Foundation Health Teaching Workshop, and this workshop is dedicated to the head, uvula, and thalamus. And my name's Rick Cram, and I'm your host today, and we'll be talking with Dr. Elia Kostova at the Spaceship Institute, and she will start off this workshop, and then we'll listen to Mr. Kesh after her presentation. Okay, let's switch over right away to Dr. Elia. Can you hear me? Are you there?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, very well.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It's me, Elia, from Spaceship Institute. Today, we started 11th Health Teaching Workshop. And the subject is the head and connection and relationship between uvula, this is small tongue, and thalamus. Okay, we started with first picture on slideshow.
It should be coming through any second now on the live. There it comes. We're just trying to go through, just for the people on live stream, we're just trying to work out a couple of details here.
So, if you have a picture, I will speak through my pictures because for us the live stream is not on, it's not downloading probably because of the net connection.
Okay, we should be able to do that.
So, the first slide is showing you 3D model of head. And what I want to show with this slide is that when we have modeling the head of human being, after making the skull and face bones, after that we have several entrances to the head. This is our eyes, our mouth, nose, and 2 ears. And actually the question is why we have all these enters to our head and what is the purpose of these enters. On that hole is placed the sensor organs. The sensor organs accept information from an environment and transmit information to our brain. Point is why we have that much sensor organs and all of them they are placed on our head. Is because the main data center is our brain, actually our thalamus, and all information from environments come through our sensors and starts to be transformed in specific fields in our brain. So it's regarding the difference between the sensor organs. Each of sensor organs accept different kind of fields from environment and in the specific way transform the information from that fields to the brain. Actually, our eyes accept part of the spectrum of information from environment and transform that information at images, and we have vision. Ears accept particular part of spectrum of information from environment and give us the sound. Mouth accept the information through food and air inside and through the sensor or organ tongue and different kind of receptor in mouth give information to the brain of the fields in food and in air and water. Nose accept the air and transform information from air to the brain. And actually, we need that much sensor organs because in the beginning was only one, what we call the third eye, how Mr. Kesh said. But the third eye information from environment starts to be so much that actually the only one sensor organ is not able to accept and to transcript and transform information to the main receptor for us, what is the brain. And then the nature makes different sensor organs and separate all the spectrum of the information to different level of organs. So in that sense, each sensor organ accepts particular spectrum of fields from environment and transcript and transcend information to the brain. Then brain separate to different area and each area starts to be connected with particular sensory organ. In that way, particular area of the brain starts to accept and reorganize the information from fields and to analyze and to send back the fields to physical part of the brain who controlling and the function of our body. Actually, because of that, we have that much sensitive organs. Then we go to the next slide. Just Rick, tell me when you're ready because I'm blank. I cannot download anything.
It's on now.
Okay. I just not able to download any pictures from live stream. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So the next slide is your mouth. What you have actually in your mouth. And we have a tongue, we have a teeth, limbs, and 2 tonsils. And actually, uvula, what we call the small tongue, is its end of the soft palate. Uvula is its small tongue in English, and comparing with our tongue, they have the same shape. If you separate your mouth to the 2 halves, upper and lower, it is actually the place where cross line in the middle of your tonsils and of to both sides, right and left, you have conjunction of the maxilla and mandibula. It is your upper and lower jaw. Where you have the conjunction with 2 joints, it is actually the separation between emotional and physical part of your body in the face area, and how Mr. Kesh said this is the outside point for your connection with emotional part of your brain. And if you follow that line, you see that uvula is sit exactly in the middle of the line between 2 joints, right and left conjunction between the lower and upper part of your joint. So uvula and tongue have the same nerve innervation. several nerves come from brain and innervate the uvula and tongue in the same way. Could you please go to the next slide? Okay, so for the next slide is cross section of your head and neck, and actually is visible for you skull bones, the top part, and then comes the sinus area with your sinus sphenoidal and ethmoidal, and then you see the soft palate, and the end is uvula. After uvula, you see is so the shape of your throat is actually like two kidneys, if you see that. But actually, this is the shape of your throat, and in front of the throat, your throat, how we call in Latin language pharynx, comes the larynx area, and then go down to the trachea. So I just wanted to show you how is really shape of your pharynx, and if you follow down and if you know the shape of your body in chest area and abdominal area, all that shapes like a kidneys and particular repetitive model on the line. So you have this shape on your brain, the same shape have your thalamus, then the bigger picture of the same shape is your brain. Then if you go down, the same shape have your lungs, and then you go down, the same shape have your kidney, and then in abdominal area for women is ovaries, and for a man it is the testicles. This is the same shape. So keep in your mind that shape for workshop today, and for the next workshop I will remember you again, because it's important. Just all these shapes is on one line. Okay, then we go to the next slide. Okay, thank you. So for that slide, I want to show you the innervation of tongue and the small tongue. How you see they have innervation for similar nerves, and then function is not opposite. This is completely similar. One is moving and other one is moving, and actually through them comes most of the sensor neurons from two nucleus, and nucleus ambiguous and hypoglossal nucleus. They are part of the glossopharyngeal nerve. And how you see this is sensory nucleus. What is mean with tongue and with small tongue, you accept information, sensors. You accept information from environment. But actually, because the uvula or the small tongue is on the place where you separate the brain to emotional part, and how we spoke before that emotional part of the brain outside view is your chin, your upper joint, your nose, eyes, cross your head, and you finish, if you remember when I showed you the third eye, what is the back of your neck. So actually the uvula is the tongue of your emotional part of the brain, how Mr. Cash explained and said. And tongue, your real physical tongue, is sensitive organ tongue for your physical part of the brain. And with your physical tongue, you accept information which is more matter level for physical part, and with your small tongue accept the sense for your emotional part. Actually, you have two sensor organs for test. For physical test is your physical tongue, and for emotional test is your small tongue. So the test of life from your emotion you take with small tongue, and test of life for physical part you take with your physical tongue, what we call a tongue. Okay, and then when informations come in your mouth and your tongue accept it like physical matter and your small tongue accept like emotional matter, then impulse go to spinal cavity and to the spinal cord, go up and down to brain or to your body. So the next slide, please. Okay, thank you. For that slide, I want to show you again. It is complicated picture for you. It's more medical, but just see, please, on the right bottom of the picture is written sensory branch to soft palate, face, and tonsils. And in front of that is your tongue. Just I wanted to show you how from these two nucleus comes mostly nerves of sensority. These two nucleus, sensors, nerve to uvula, small tongue, and to tonsils. The impulse come from two nucleus in the same direction to both of them. Okay, then next slide, please. Okay, thank you. With this slide, I want to show you what we speak about the joint and the conjunction between upper and lower. How you see on the left picture. So what we call in Latin language zygomatic bone is your skull. This is part of your upper joint, and then connect with the lower joint. This is your mandibula. And actually this joint, what we call articulatio maxillomandibularis in Latin language, it is your outer part where you are able to interact with emotional part of the brain, how Mr. Cash said. And actually, if you want to connect physical part and emotional part, you're supposed to apply the devices in that part of your face, because this is the outer part which is connection with two parts of your brain, emotional and physical. And when you go to the right side of slide, you see how in the same level is placed soft palate, and this is your uvula. So actually they're on the same level. And I will repeat again that small tongue is represent your emotional part of your brain. Actually, the small tongue, its outer view is a receptor organ for your thalamus in mouth. They interact to each other. So small tongue uvula accept the information from environment, sense the information from environment, and connect directly with your thalamus. They are, like Mr. Kesh said, twins. Okay, then the next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. With this slide, I wanted to show you just the shape of thalamus. Thalamus, we have the right and left thalamus, like left and right part of our brain. And actually, thalamus also has the anterior part and dorsal part. This, and how you see they are so similar of uvula, of small tongue, but in opposite direction. If you compare two pictures of small tongue and shape of your thalamus, then the right picture is, it is again the shape of thalamus, hypothalamus, and olfactory bulb. Olfactory bulb is your sensors to your nose. Olfactory bulb is like extension of your brain and accept the sensor's impulse from your nose. Okay, and actually you see here again the repetitive model of like kidney shape of your thalamus. How I told you before that. This is repetitive model on the line of through all your body. Then we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So for the next slide is cross section in front, in back, the first, and the second one is cross section right, left. So how you see your tongue is on the middle, red one, muscle view, and on top of your tongue is like one small red spot is uvula. And actually, if you measure the distance between the number 2, what is your thalamus area in the brain, is written number 2. So this is the left part of your brain. The right part have again number 2, but it's not written. And if you connect these two numbers 2 with the middle of your upper joint, what is the red spot is actually your uvula. It is completely perfect triangle. If you follow the Fibonacci consequence, you are able to measure everything inside of the skull, and you will find that consequence everywhere. Okay, and the right side you see the cross section left right. Your thalamus is number 8 in the middle of your brain. So if you just connect thalamus with uvula, uvula is extension of letter H. And then on the same level is your conjunction between the upper and lower joint. Actually, thalamus, pituitary gland, uvula, and conjunction between both joints, they are on the line. Okay. Then we go to the next slide. Okay, thank you. That slide, I just want to show you that uvula have different kind of shapes. And it's interesting is why we have different kind of shapes of uvula. It's actually why we accept information from environment in different way. And how you see from the beginning, it is uvula which is most positioning on the left side of your mouth. Then in the middle we have uvula which is so long, and then we have uvula which is so short, and then uvula which is so thick, and then we have double corny uvula with different shapes of these two corn. In the middle of the double corny uvula, you may see the uvula with cancer. So why we have the cancer in our emotional part? That is interesting question. And in the end, you see erectile uvula. And so many people, even in my practice like a doctor, I saw in emotional state, them uvula starts to elevate. It's like erection. It is so interesting questions which I hope we are able and we are enough smart to understand after Mr. Kesh explanation. Okay, it is for my part, for anatomy. If you have some questions for me, if not, we are following with the explanation of Mr. Kesh.
Thank you, Alia. It was a very
You're
interesting
welcome.
presentation.
Yeah, questions?
Can
If
the
someone
size
have,
of the uvula change?
yeah, changes.
So it's a dynamic organ.
Yeah, it's dynamic organ and so sensitive actually.
Yeah, so for example, when I sleep in certain positions, I snore, but when I wake up, I have my uvula is very, I can feel it against my tongue, so it's expanded.
Mm.
That's probably
And
due to
also,
the interaction of the snoring, but I just wanted to see if it was a dynamic.
so Mr. Kesh said to answer to yourself where you been in your dreams. It's because of your dreams you have changing of shape of uvula. This is the question to you from Mr. Kesh, just to remember where you been in your dreams.
Okay, I'll have
Yeah,
to make note of that because I
yeah,
don't my
yeah. It
dream.
is because emotional sensor organ, so it's react of your emotions actually. Do you understand?
So it reacts to your emotional state.
Yes.
And
Some
as
other
when
questions?
dreaming, so as when we're dreaming, we could have a way different emotional state than we are when we're awake. So that could
Yeah,
change. Okay.
yeah, of course.
Dreams just
We're
piece of
sleeping
your
only
mind.
with our physical body. Our emotional body is not sleeping actually. Just 1 second.
Sorry about this, I come in. You got to realize that dream is, sleep is for physical part. Emotionally, when you're physically at rest or you create less information, does not go to sleep. The physical sleep is the habit of the physicality. So what happens when you go to sleep? Your emotional part still sends information to your physical part. You understand this clearly better when, for example, in your dream, somebody is trying to strangle you. In strangling you, you want to breathe. The physicality is, even though there is nobody actually touching your throat, you grasp for air. you wake up with a panic exactly as it happens in reality. Because you receive the information from the emotion exactly as is, and the physical part, even though it has no access to it, receives the behavior information in plasmatic form. So you get up, you still are in the state of fear, but in fact there is no reality. So maybe we can understand how our emotions are connected to our physical part. We sleep and we expect nothing, and we think just because the eyes don't hear, or we shut the curtains down and we lower the receptory levels of the ears, we have finished, there is nothing there. The soul of the man never sleeps, and because the soul cannot sleep, the emotional part is always active, is always in the process of receiving. But when you go to sleep and you have not, you have not understood the problems of the day or the problems of the life, you tend to let the physical part to sort and do its problem, to solve the problem which you could not sort out emotionally. When you don't speak your emotion to the person who has given it to you, you try in a way to speak through your tongue in your sleep, which uses your Uvula. There is an old say, it says, I laugh for you not to see my fears or my problems. The face is the laugh, but the problem sits in the back, which is the emotion. And our physicality has learned how to hide behind a lot of problems, and then when you're asleep, your emotions are still active as good as they were at the beginning when you're awake, and that is transferred down to your Uvula, or in some cases is transferred into the sight that you see. Vision of man in sleep is very much real, because just you close the curtain does not mean the neural system in the background don't work. So if your Uvula makes bigger or gets bigger when you wake up, you have to find out what sits in the emotional in the back that you don't speak. The position of Uvula is a twinity reactor to the thalamus. One is up, one is down. If you remember the twinity, we have a north pole connecting to the south and south to the north. We breathe, we smell, we taste, we feel the food. We feel the environment which affects our emotion. In so many ways, the tongue tastes the food, the Uvula feels the food, and that feeling is transferred back to the thalamus for it to connection with the soul of the man, or his behavior of the man in what he's going to do. This is very important. When you connect with your emotions, you will find out you can digest different foods which you could not do. It's very easy. When you fall in love, you eat foods which you never used to eat before, because by eating it, you satisfy the emotion, which sends the emotion back to the heart, which is of the same strength of the heart of, or where you fell in love with the person, that it connects up. It brings the connection and energy. You say, I don't know, I didn't used to do this, now I can do this. A lot of people, when they are pregnant women, they eat soil they go and eat wet soil, they chew soil. Because that gives the connection. It's not the soil eating, but it's the emotion which carries with the information from the soul to connection where is needed, what is short of, what needs to be done. Because man comes from the air in protein, but man becomes a body with the material of the earth. When a mother is pregnant, it still knows the situation, so it needs the material which is short from the ground, from the earth, to make the physicality of the child. So we feel through what we put in mouth, the connection with what is needed. And then the thalamus in turn informs the physical part. These are the things which are short, this is what is needed. So your tongue transfer energy in the term of physicality. Tongue is made of different tissue, and the oval is made of soft tissue, which is the emotional part. That's why it is. And then if you look at the shape of ovula in different people, in very much you can say the characteristics of the person. I do this quite often. Through the shape of ovula, you can see the soul of the man, but not as a soul, but the behavior of the man. Schizophrenic, possibility of a schizophrenic, epilepsy, Alzheimer's. The position of it, which tells you this balance within the body and where the problem in the future is going to be. So, to us, we have ignored the twin system of the emotional part of brain. That's why a lot of scientists, a lot of doctors don't understand what's the use of this thing. Maybe for the first time we can understand. If you look into the size of the organ, or what I call it, it is actually a twin star of the thalamus. It tells you how much you can trust a person. If you look in the throat of a lot of people with epilepsy, you'll find out that they have a very, very long oval. The ovula in the people who have uncertainty and are trying to find their position, the structure in the social life, you hear them go like this, like a clicking. It's just waking up. Where am I? What's my position? Where do I feel? How do I feel? I don't feel comfortable. Then sucking on the ovula happens with a lot of people who have epilepsy. Because what they do, they suck this longer and longer, that emotionally this piece physically touches the throat, creates convulsion, and in the process of trying to drag this piece down, they release so much energy which goes from the emotional part from ovula to thalamus, that the information cannot be digested by the brain, and what you get is a seizure because too much information is coming in. This you see, I was explaining this to Dr. Elia, that in a lot of cases of the epilepsy, if you ask the patient to open the mouth, they refuse, because they know, with people like us who are expert in these things, you by the shape and the size, because it's just like sucking on it. It's like very much they use the ovula like the way you put a sucking machine on the teats of a cow when you're milking it. They suck it so long that the emotional part, what they are trying to, the attention, touches the physicality, which is the back of the throat. And then by this time, the brain has used so much energy to bring the concentration for getting the attention. It goes in override, releasing a lot of information energy. Then the back of the brain switches off because it cannot handle so much information to go to the body, then you see as epileptic shocks. But at the same time, because they have extended the uvula to the top of the throat, and because of the shaking of the body, you get convulsion. So in reality, the abuse of uvula creates information which becomes shut down in pulses by the brain to go to the physicality, creates a shake like if they put you on a roller coaster, and like if you put in what do you call the disease? They put their mouth and they vomit to stay slim. Where is Dr. Elia?
Isn't that bulimia?
Bulimia, yes. It's the same disease, same problem. So it creates convulsion. So when you see somebody having an epileptic attack on the street or somewhere shaking and vomiting, the vomiting is nothing to do with epilepsy. The vomiting comes from if I put you on the table and shake you. So you go sick. If I put you on a roller coaster, very rapid, it comes from the shaking of the body. Because what happens in that process, you created the two conditions and the body goes into override information. The shaking in pulse release of information creates the convulsion. Somebody has an open phone.
Eric, can you mute your mic, please?
So now you see how uvula connected directly into the emotional part because it's a twin star. People who are in a way deceitful, you see they have a specific shape of uvula because this shows the emotion of the pattern of their emotion. If you see how the shape of uvula is, you can most probably, in a lot of cases, confirm or disconfirm the schizophrenic. Because you have two emotions. Sometimes you don't see it, but if you look deep enough, you see the emotion, the second emotion, second character. The shape of very close evolves to the tongue, you will see that the people who have a behavior of hiding and deceiving. Because it cannot be shown. I don't want to show my hand.
Mr. Kesh, I have a picture on the live stream that shows a uvula that's
Double.
split.
Yes.
It's a double.
Yeah.
Would that be the origin of the saying, somebody speaking with a forked tongue?
I don't know what the term forked tongue means.
A fork, like in the old Western movies, the Indians would say the white man speaks with a forked tongue. Meaning,
not speaking the truth.
Yeah, sort of schizophrenic, or saying one thing meaning another.
Yeah, in Farsi we have a name, a specific for it. We call it Jubin, means the arrow with two heads. You don't know which one is going to hit you. You understand?
Yeah, same thing. So
yeah,
they must have had the same saying in the Native American culture as well. It's just a different way of saying it.
Yeah, but in the shape of uvula, it's in fact very much clarification of the state of the man emotionally, independent of any physicality. It's a fingerprint. A lot of people will hide it, but if now we show it, you put them in front of the system, and you draw the pattern of the uvula before you put them on, you will see you get the same result. It's very interesting how it is. I've looked at this a long time in how it is and how it works. And for example, I was explaining to Dr. Elia, when you have epileptic people which use this process, if you ask them to open their mouth, they just open enough that you can see just the tip of the tongue. And you have asked them to open it harder, open it wider, you want to have a look. They just open up with torture as they cannot, they're shouting and talking and trying to defend themselves. The next minute you ask them to open up their mouth, because they know you're going to look at the uvula and you know how they are triggering it, you literally have to use a spoon to get in. It's a fight. And I see this with most of epilepsy attacks, because they know you understand the position, because this is what they use to trigger information. This, the color, the position, the shape, gives you a lot of indication about the emotional and the diseases which comes after with it. Dr. Ali was speaking about the cancer. Why does emotional part need a cancer to show itself in the front? Go back to the emotion. What is not digested? What has been forced, which is rejected by emotion? In so many ways, psychological state of the man is written on his uvula. And if you do a fingerprint, draw a system like, very much like, let's say, a schizophrenic, or draw the picture of a person with fibromyalgia before you start the process, and then draw it afterwards when you finish the process, it will give you a very good indication where you are and what the emotional condition has been. So maybe as we spoke with the heart to be in 4 chambers, or we spoke with the lung with 2 pieces, now with this Uvula, not Uvula, we show how the brain has chosen the 2 parts. Internally not to be shown, externally to be seen. And there are a lot of discussions in how it happens, how come it can feel, is because even when you put a sugar in your mouth, or you put a nut in your mouth which is solid, it carries information which is magnetic gravitational. So it is received, it tells you how you feel, what memory it brings back. A lot of times you put something in your mouth and you just, I remember this I had in such and such a country. Because the feel is not the taste, the emotion of it touches it, and it receives by the emotional part, and it comes the recognition. The doctors always say if they go into the physicality condition, then they understand they can literally digest, diagnose most of the problems of the patient by just looking into the mouth, not on the tongue, but on the shape and the structure in the background of the whole uvula. How it sits, is it tight? If it sits in an open position, you can see it and read a stress position. The biggest problem is we are not looking, because we never understood what's the function of this, or this little piece hanging in the back of our throat. It's a radar for the emotional part inside the brain. And it is one of the most important parts. People who lose it or do operation, they have damage to it, you'll find out the state of emotion changes totally. Now you have to work with a new field. It's just like you had a gans of copper oxide in it, and then now you have a gans of CO2. They feel the strength, but the brain still stays as a copper oxide, but the outside now becomes CO2. It creates a different condition. Now, any questions?
Hey, Mr. Keshe, I have a question.
Oh God, he's there. Good morning, brah.
When you
Do you ever
sleep,
go to sleep?
I sleep only a couple hours, maybe. That's it. Maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, check your uvula, see why.
Anyways, when you're laying down and sleeping and the spine's decompressed, and then all of a sudden you get a jerking motion and the spine compresses back and you wake up, what's going on there?
That's your neurosystem. Speak with your muscles. Nothing to do with that.
Okay. I had some other questions, but I forgot. Or if I remember, I'll
That's
ask.
okay. Any other questions?
Okay, yeah, I remember now. The people talk about the Kundalini, where it goes from your tailbone up through your body. Is
We
is
are
it
talking about the other end of the body. We talk about what we talk today.
okay?
Oh yeah, okay. Because it takes you somewhere else. We are in the North Pole. South Pole is very far away.
All right.
Mr. Kesh, I'm still trying to get. This is all a new concept to me, and it's all quite amazing. I'm still trying to get a grasp on what the uvula, how it senses. Does it work by sensing the temperature? Does it work by? Does it have
No,
any
it's just by the
receptors for
feel.
taste? There's no taste receptors, right? Like in the tongue, it's a different um, um,
Uh,
type of sensors. It's got a nervous, obviously it's got nerves and so on. So
I don't know what is
what
going.
does it sense? What does it sense? You say it's
It
linked to
receives.
feeling.
Everything has a feeling. Even a stone you touch has a feeling. When you put a food in your mouth, has a physical. In a way, if I explain to you, you understand. A matter you touch, then you have an atmosphere of the matter you feel. One is physicality of it, and one is what it leaves as a fingerprint, as an emotion that you detect. It's very important to understand the difference. In a time, coming time, will show how it can be used for assessing and judging people for the jobs they are employed for, because you cannot change it and go into an interview. You cannot come and become a pilot when you're actually fear of flight, but you need a job to eat food.
People will have cosmetic surgery on their uvula then to change it, perhaps.
Oh yeah, very very
Scary.
nice one. Yeah, but then you have to. You ask them, have you had an operation? Yes. We wait. We wait 25 years till it settles. Then you come for a job.
So
Because, pardon?
what's going to happen when we start eating GANs and we go into space? How is these structures going to change then?
Where? What did you say? Oh, she says we will not be wasting time. You still carry the same kind of emotions. They still carry the same kind of information. Then you take what is needed, that is stability. A lot of psychosomatic, a lot of psychological diseases come because of uncertainty. And the uncertainty comes in not trusting what we receive.
Mr. Kesh, could you talk a little bit with the example of chocolate? To me, that seems like an example. When we eat, most people when they like chocolate and they eat it, you would have a taste on the tongue, but there's more of a feeling that would occur. That's more in the back of the mouth, which I'm assuming now is associated with the uvula. Is that true? The emotional experience of the chocolate, which some people associate with love, actually. So how does that tie in? Do you think?
Hold on one second. Dr. Ali is trying to tell me something to tell you.
Hello. So when you eat chocolate, actually you increase the level of serotonin and endorphins directly from hypothalamus, and because of that you feel the joy and happiness like when you fall in love. Because when you fall in love, It's the same chemical reaction. And increasing of endorphins is so simple. Everything what is able to trigger your hypothalamus with frequency or some kind of test which is triggering your part of the brain which is situated in origin the hormone serotonin and endorphins give you the same feeling. Do you understand? So it is
Yes,
physical.
that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
So instead of falling in love, you eat chocolate, right?
Yeah. And also when you are under stress, you need more chocolate.
I got next question. Is it the salt sensitivity coming from the Uvula too?
Can you say again?
Is it the salt sensitivity coming from there too?
South
When
is
you,
all the tests what you have like physical tests, they are situated in your physical tongue. And the south receptor of the tongue, they are on the sides of your tongue. Right and left, they're situated, we call in Latin language papilla. And this papilla, they're situated and right and left of your tongue for south. And for sweetness is actually the tip of the tongue. And when you have a picture, I'm sorry, I didn't show you, but actually on your physical tongue, you are able to represent all your internal organs, all your body. And the side of the tongue is the place of your lung. The tip of the tongue is place of your heart. In the middle, it's your intestine, stomach, all digestive system. And the root of the tongue is actually part of your pelvic area, reproductive system. And also, different kind of test is represented of different papilla. Is a sensors of different tests, and they are in different part of your tongue. So in the part right, left, like on H is south, where is your lungs, on top, on the tip of the tongue is your heart, and this is the says for sweet, and the root of your tongue is, how is in English, sound like vinegar? Yeah, sour is root of your tongue. Do you understand? And actually, all the senses, they are related with your internal organ. And the people who is familiar with alternative medicine, we use a lot of tongue diagnostic about the diseases. And also we connect the changing of test with diseases, and when we know which one organ represents a tongue, we are able to recognize which one energy is increasing or decreasing in body. It's like energy diagnostic also you are able to use. And now when we compare with MAGRAPH technology, each test is related with different strength of MAGRAPH fields. So when you compare the test and the strength of MAGRAPH fields, so you know which one part of your tongue and then uvula, which one strength of fields able to accept and to resend to the main computer, our brain. Do you understand?
yes, so basically applying little bit of salty water on the left and the right side is gonna trick the body that you eat salty food.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what.
like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's an easy way to cure hypertension.
Yeah, okay, just 1 second, Mr. Kish.
What you call hypertension, what we call blood pressure, high blood pressure in Europe, can be done. What you do, you can allow to understand why you're holding salt or why you have the high blood pressure. This is due to the fact the way our organs was built from the beginning of the time, how the protein came together. The proteins, the first call, if you look at your GAN systems where you make the CO2 and you make a protein on top, is connected to the salt. The left part of the tongue operates the right side of the brain and vice versa with the other side. So why we have sensory for salt on our tongue in two halves is because the body has two-part operation in the brain and two-part physicality, and each one has to receive according to what it needs, amount of salt, and what it needs to digest in the stomach when it arrives there. So the process of the salt has got to do with the structure of the physical part of the brain. In one of the things which you will understand very clearly why, for example, I was explaining this past couple of days here, is that if you go and buy an ice cream, or in some of the chocolates, you read as additive sodium, or they put salt. Why do you put salt in ice cream? Or why do you put salt in a chocolate? The reason is you taste the sweetness, and by the time you taste the salt, which to you is nothing there but is hidden very deeply inside your food, it enhances the separation of the two fields between salt and sweet. But because the sugar is more of this, they don't need to use sweetener. You get addicted to the gap between the two. This is why you're addicted to certain chocolates, why you're addicted to certain brand of ice cream, or that kind of matters. Because the salt, and depends which side is touched first. Let's say it goes to -2. With the sugar you are +4, so now the gap is 6. But if they just add sugar, it's only from 0 to 4. Doesn't have that impact. And then your body understands that it prefers 6 to 4. And this item, this brand, this ice cream gives me the 6, so you get addicted to the food. That's one of the reasons they use salt as a psychological pathway for you to be addicted, because it creates a new reference point in respect to what psychologically to you is something you didn't have before. In what you wanted to satisfy. A lot of food we eat satisfies and explains the status we want to be in, because of what is received by thalamus and what is received by the little piece which is hanging in the back of your throat. Because what happens, we associate food with culture, with wealth. And a lot of people who understand this process use food to indicate in what society they live, even they go vomiting afterwards. So you see people who in their life could not even reach caviar. When they come to a little bit of money, even the caviar makes them sick. They want to claim a status. Because it's not the status, it's just because the field which is absorbed or released by the caviar in your Uvula allows you to get the sensation that I achieved. I am there where I want, when I didn't belong before. This is like, for a lot of you to understand, it's like Italians and spaghetti. In the rest of the world, we eat spaghetti bolognese, which means it's got a minced meat in it. In Italy, it's unheard of. Especially if you go to Bologna, they don't even use meat in their spaghetti. What happened? The Italians, at the time when they start going to the West, meat was a luxury, which they could not afford, they could not reach in this country. When they arrived in the West, in America, there were buffaloes everywhere. To satisfy the need, which they did not have, they added meat to receive the fields which they were short, and the rich people only could eat meat in the West, in Italy. Adding meat into the spaghetti, two proteins together at high level, satisfied the position of the hanging tongue, what I call it, and the emotion, and the status of food, and the position in society, and comfort in the emotional part. This is very important. A lot of people don't understand how we change culture of the food, and when as we change the culture of food to satisfy the emotion, we have chosen different shape, different colors, different heights. This is what I was explaining in our trip to knowledge seekers. Why men are becoming different heights and we're becoming taller and taller. It's the same process. We don't want to breed the airs which the others breed. So we go slightly higher. It's just like the trees and the leaves and the shrubs. Because that way we breed an air which satisfies our need to be a hierarchy. Doesn't matter if we become like a tree, 10 meters tall. And these are the part of processes, because if you see, this is very clear now in the Chinese community. Chinese community, if you watch them, the ones who are in China and become affluent enough to be able to eat McDonald's or hamburger or have that kind of lifestyle, they satisfy the emotion that they have to be higher. You find the children of this community now are becoming very suddenly springing up. It's not so much that they had more protein, it's just that the hierarchy status which did not exist now is satisfied through the food and the emotion. And with that, they stick to higher because then they see the difference. This little bit hanging in the back of the throat has a lot of influence on the behavior of man, but by looking at it, you can see through the man without the eyes. Any other question?
There is a question from Eric that he's been itching to ask for a few workshops now, actually. And many people have this
Bye,
same...
Eric. Goodbye. Okay, go on, ask.
Many people have this same question because of our problems with our teeth. And it goes back to, you've mentioned before about eating cheese before bed, which helps the teeth. And he's asking, well, he says, which is the component? How does it work? And can it fix a tooth that has cavity or is damaged?
Go into the dental books and read it. In some cases, depending on the texture and the quality and the material which the tooth is made of, it just changes an enzyme in the mouth. Yeah, Elias says it's pH, but it's actually it changes the. You got to look at what is released, and the reason we release this liquid, which allows us to neutralize it with the cheese. There has been something I wanted to say for a long time for the parents, and I keep on forgetting every Friday when I come here. No, the cheese is the chemicals in cheese is neutralizes the enzymes which causes the decay of the tooth, or allows the sugar to develop or to be used to create atomic hydrogen on the skin that it can open up. You got to look at why sugar is damaging to the tooth. Instead of you opening the sugar in the stomach, you open up the CH bond in the mouth because of the presence of this chemical. And as you understand, hydrogen is an energy supplier. With the protein and acidity which this protein in the mouth creates, allows to deliver a high saturation energy at the point of the tooth. So what happens? The molecules and the cells open up. If you understand the process of the tooth decay, how you can literally destroy or open up such a hard material in a very simple way, this gives you an answer how you can work to do cancer tumors. It's the same process. You don't deliver radiation, you deliver a plasmatic field. And that's why the tooth opens up and you call it a decay. So with the cheese, you reduce the possibility of the sugar to stay around to be able to deliver energy and cause what you call a decay, but in fact is delivering high energy. It's exactly, you take sugar to release its energy as a plasmatic into your stomach to receive it very quickly. Now this energy is released at the level with the structure of the tooth. And the enzyme which works in the stomach now is in your mouth and does the same thing, creates the condition.
Shouldn't the uvula be able to sort of figure that out, or to... Are we eating the sugar to satisfy the uvula?
No, we're eating sugar to satisfy the energy need of psychological part through the stomach. A lot of people with the schizophrenic, because they have to support one real body and one imaginary body, use a lot of sugar because brain uses too much to operate. That's why you see people with psychological diseases, problems, especially schizophrenic, are high consumers of fast drinks like Coca-Cola. Because it's the instant sugar which satisfies the two partners in the same body. As I always say, a schizophrenic is not a disease, it's understanding of the presence of two entities with two souls in one body. As we see the twins, we know two bodies, but unfortunately, in that case, it's the same. So you can even, it has been tested with a lot of schizophrenic, there is a problem with one food, they love certain kind of food, before the appearance of the second character, and afterwards, because they reject it, the person you know, because this is not something the other one likes. I have to be separate, so you refuse it, because it creates a different emotion inside the body of the man. Any other question? Are we within our 2 hours or are we finished? Still got time.
Yeah, we're at about an hour and 15 minutes, or an hour and a half altogether, with a bit of a late start.
Okay, there is something, if there is no question, there is something we have to bring up today, because now it's in public. It's better to be heard at the foundation teachings than outside. We have to inform you, unfortunately, with a lot of sadness and a lot of regret, that as you know, we said that I was poisoned. There were people who wrote, why is he talking about poison? These are the people who are the supporters of the gentleman who was poisoning us. The papers which were used, because I write and that's what it was, laced with poison, have been tested by independent laboratory in the country. And we received the results today, and Rick is in a position of it, is in possession of the papers. The papers which has been in front of Mr. John Skelton shows 34 times more than legal limit arsenic. Documents have been passed on to the federal police, Interpol, and inquiries for attempted murder has started. The water content shows 1.9 nanogram, legal limit is 10. The clothing washed to show the amount of arsenic shows 2.2. 10 is the limit. Arsenic, 340. So we have to inform you, and the documents are, the laboratory reports are available, as we saw the poisoning before. The papers, and we have to say, since the day when my wife was poisoned, we have not seen Mr. John Skelton in the premises of the Keshe Foundation or any contact with the foundation. There is no accusation, there is no finger pointing, but as now we have 100% proof of arsenic contamination, and the papers are in the hand of the press. We have released it for the purpose, for reasons known. The murder inquiries, attempted murder inquiries with the federal police and the Interpol has started officially. So the documents of the lab report are available, and the people who have been the supporters of each other have started trying to saying, do not talk about poisoning, we are fed up with it, because these were to be benefited by the behavior and activities most probably. So what we have to say is, unfortunately now we have 100% proof, 34 times more arsenic than maximum legal limit allows. And strangely enough, these papers were, as I mentioned before, sit at a position, we don't unknowingly why, at where the Mr. John Skelton was sitting. So we leave it, there is no accusation, there is no point. Nobody has been on this room except knowledge seekers, and the balance of the papers and fingerprints have been passed on to it'll be analyzed by the authorities. It is rather unfortunate that with this position, if proven, the warrant for arrest of Mr. Hans Brackenier, officer of the Belgian police, Mr. Delanois, and the present and the past King of Belgium will be issued as a group attempting to murder a family as a whole. If you like, we can ask, because we passed the papers to Rick to release it. It's already been released and you can see it. So if anything happens to Mr. John Skelton, to Mr. Hans Brackenier, to the police of Kortrijk area of the Belgium, these are all pre-planned. Investigation has been passed on to the Iranian ambassador embassy in Iran and in Tehran. As an Iranian citizen, we have requested a cover by the Iranian government in attempted murder of a scientist and his family. You can see the papers and the report of the laboratory with the address of the laboratory. Everything is done. This is a public information. So as we can see, the claims and the pains and the deaths which we went through the hospital to die was not just a joke for the others who were trying to cover what they were trying to do, and there were promised positions in the Keshe Foundation if they support the move. From now on, as I said, this is a attempted murder inquiry with 340 times the level of arsenic. Any other question?
Quick one, was it John living separate from the other guys?
We do not say anything. Please do not go into it.
If maybe their apartment was contaminated,
this is a murder inquiry, attempted murder inquiry, which is in the hand of the Interpol. The Iranian Forensic Department will move in and everything will be done on official levels. Because they can create as a pack when there is nothing, no fingerprints anywhere. We don't explain, we don't accuse anybody, but this is exactly where Caroline touched the papers, because each one had a more or less always sat in the same position. And so we now have a full proof of attempted murder. by poisoning, we said, and as I said this morning when I received the report, I thanked Dr. Elia for her insight and diagnosing it so rapidly, where the other doctors, they thought it's a joke. Now we see 100% what a capable and competent doctor is within our team. Now we will look for Donabella in how it's been brought in, because Caroline and Marco show the signs of Donabella poisoning. Now the inquiry started with the rest of it. There are other poisoning which is sitting in the house we are aware of, and then that's been the hand of what is got to be done. So we close this case now, which is going to be a murder inquiry, attempted murder inquiry by whoever they are, and then the rest is for the warrants to be issued and whatever is going on illegally. Any other question?
The Donatella, that's nightshade poisoning, is it not?
Yes, it is. It's diagnosed by Dr. Elia to be given to Caroline as well. What has happened, this is what I tell you in regarding the thalamus. This is what I've been teaching you about thyroid and parathyroid gland. What my body has done due to the process has converted one atom, one elementary element to another. In your body, parathyroid glands transfer, for example, phosphor to calcium when it's needed. But having in the condition of not wanting to die or not being at the time to be accepting it, the parathyroid glands have converted the arsenic to the material which can be stored in the body, and that's why the initial poisoning, what you call it, high metal poisoning, which came from the laboratory in Germany, which was done independently from the foundation, confirms the high levels of the materials which are not supposed to be there. Somebody said because you touch batteries there is high level of zinc. These are the terrorist people who want to talk that way, because Dr. Elia can say it's so low. There's actually negative zinc. Yeah, she confirms it because she received the report. So what has happened, the process of conversion by the body has been to convert the arsenic into heavy metals, not to damage, to cause the death. So now we understand the process, we understand where we are, and this process has to stop. I have requested, and we request again for the European Space Agency to suspend Mr. Hans Brackenier from the position till murder inquiries was completed. Because a number of other scientists around Europe are in the same position to be murdered by him and his organization. He should not be sitting at the head of the European management, European Space Agency management. I received a direct threat to be murdered by him now through his organization, and Belgian government has been delivered. Now we have the proof. This was a fourth murder, attempted murder by Mr. Hans Brackenier as a managing director, as one of the management team of the European Space Agency, and now it has to come to an end. How many more scientists have to be murdered by one man because he needs what he needs to get? We have to tell you, as you know, Mr. John Skeleton has told us that he knows, trying to tell us what's going to happen to us, that he knows other scientists in Belgium being pulled on the side road of the motorway and been shot in the head. So, and he could not bring the person who was done do. Then we asked him, go back on the teachings of the past. Yeah, and himself confirmed to the other students in the institute that of his activities in Africa, why he was kicked out of the institute or whatever for terrorist activities. We have not seen him from his sudden departure with no excuse from the institute. So these are the inquiries he has to declare to the Interpol, the Iranian government's officials, and the Italian police. Now we can carry on accepting new students back into the institute the way we planned, and we set up to do the degrees and the masters and the others in the appropriate way. The only damage is done is lost the trust of us to teach openly, and is you lost, not us. As Dr. Elias said, when you're here, you learn every day you add, because on the internet and the Skype you don't learn. And now this closes a lot of teaching for a lot of people. I go back into something we received in regarding American military. We welcome you here to our institute, and we teach you the same as we taught to the Iranian scientists. The doors open to the Senate committee or sub-Senate committee or any of the officials in the different ranks of the American military. Maybe with the knowledge coming to you in the correct way, we all can have a peaceful time as we planned. There is something which is important. Today I brought it up because of what happened in the teachings of yesterday, in what Vince showed us. If you've been on the live stream in the past week, we started the system at 12 kilo.4, which is 12 kilogram 400. At this moment, we passed 14 kilogram 80. So we have gained 1,680 grams. I explained to the scientists today, to knowledge seekers, because they start teaching from here from first day, explaining things as we receive more people for distribution and spreading the knowledge. You all been looking for a weight reduction, and I keep on telling you to look and understand different things, but you were not ready. Now that Vince has shown it, I explained to you to understand something new. The something new is what you've been missing. Can you go on camera? We go on camera, then you understand in drawings. We got the Skype, we see it.
I don't have any picture here yet.
Yeah, we're trying to go back on camera.
Okay.
Just give us time. It's opening up. You see the paper? On Skype they see, but on the live stream, have you received the picture?
We have it now on live stream.
You have it on live stream. Okay. Let me explain to you something. Do you see it, Vince? Have you received on live stream?
I can see it on live stream, yeah. That's okay.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm trying to see what you see. Oh. Okay. We are upside down. I'm going to go and write this way. Let it be easier this way. In the system, it's okay. Oh, you want to do it that way. Yeah, okay. It's easier this way. You see it?
It's the same as before.
No, it's the other way around because it was back to front. What you have had, I'm going to do it this way. I see what I show. Okay, no problem. I will tell you who's here. You hear a new voice in the background here. And then we tell you who is with us today and who's been in the foundation in the past couple of days. In the system which we have shown up to now, we have a table and we have a hanging basket with a scale showing 14.2 kilogram. In this process, in past weeks, in past 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks, as we started from 11.16 to 10.5 and back to 13, we always looked at change of the mass. And I referred to it a few times. In fact, what you've seen is the body of the material or the frame increasing by around 1.5 kilogram. But what you all have missed, now that Vince has opened a book of the, what you call a movement of making free plasma, is that if we did not have the load cell and the system was not hanging to pull the load cell up and down, for example, the unit would have been sitting at this position. By increasing the weight by 1.5 kilo, in fact, the cell should move to this area. This is compared relative to the earth level. So, if you take the scale off, the load cell off, and you put a spring hanging from the box, position A was the original position of hanging. And if you would have scaled it on the background, position B is the new position. So, in fact, what you've been looking for, increase and decrease of the weight, is the new positioning. Now, for the first time, I explained this today because of what happened yesterday. And Armin was going, well, I explained to him he has already flown. You looked for the weight, but in plasma technology, we are looking for positioning. So if the reference C was the ground, he would have come 10, 20 centimeters closer to the earth. This is what now you understand flight position. All of you have seen the system going up and down. You will find a new position. We have a gentleman who's just checking again. I will explain to you who he is. He introduces himself if he wants. What's the weight now? What's the weight?
14.12.
14.12. When we came this morning was 13.88. So this is how the magic show opens up. Armand is setting up a new system. We put the new system on the spring. And then you see how the position changes. You go further or closer by the weight you create. So, in so many ways, the space technology is open. And in process, as we don't add any weight to the system, the weight created by the gravitational magnetic field in respect to the position of the Earth. Now the system is 1.5 kilo heavier. It's like if you're sitting and your dog comes sit on top of you on the mattress goes deeper, or the chair, somebody come and sit on you. So now we have somebody sitting on top of the system, 1.5 kilo weight. And as our visitor said this morning, there is nothing changed in the atmosphere because they've been here 2 days, they've seen the change. So if I put you on the string, if we put the reactor on a spring which can hang, and we mark it at 0 point where the weight is in respect to the body, and then turn the motors on, the position would have been 1.5 kilo heavier as you see it by weight, but it would have been so many centimeters closest to the planet. So now you have seen how you've been blind to what has been in front of you. The space technology is open for public. It's you who now got with the new technology, which Vince showed yesterday, how and where you want to put your position in respect to the planet. So the next reactor which is going up will not be on the weight scale, it will be on the spring with the backwards. You see how much it comes down, how where it finds its position in respect to the Earth. So you got to realize that from yesterday, more or less, we opened the space technology in a very rapid way, and as I said, we have achieved our goal of roadmap 2014. If you can, without doing anything, increase the weight of the matter and make it that much heavier by 15%, and now we're still going up, we don't know where the upper limit will be. If we would have put it on the spring, let's say 20 centimeters from the planet, surface of the Earth, now it would have touched, it would have landed. So the space technology, spaceship program is open, and I would like to give my deepest commiseration to our friends in NASA. We warned you by 2014, we bring it to an end, it's officially ended. Any other question?
Yes, I have a question. With that system that you show there, would it be necessary to focus the maggrav fields on a celestial object in order to go up, in order to attain the positioning to go up? Would you have to focus on a star or the sun, say?
Yes, I was explaining this earlier this afternoon. At the moment on Earth, you have a satellite positioning. The satellite positioning has no value. But as you know, when I met with the American officials, I said you pass your country without you ever noticing it. You cannot follow the curvature. The easiest way is you use the moon as an attraction repulsion, and you go back down to the position where you want to be. As I said, you look at the speed of 26 times the speed of sound for transportation. One of the problem is you depart the atmosphere in an angle and you enter in an angle. So it's much easier to do that than trying to keep to the curvature. And you use moon for internal Earth activities, because wherever you want to be, you can always find a position of reference or one of the other satellite, what do you call it, systems. Mars, Venus, but these are too far, and at this moment for man it's too far to do. Maybe in 12 months time we will do, because the position you find is where you want to be, and as you go out of the atmosphere you come back. It's very much like a jumbo jet system. Propeller engine needs to be closer to the Earth because they need air to this position. Jet engines need to be at higher because they have to burn a fuel. Now with this technology we go beyond, because we need the time to take them back. Estimated time, now you understand when I told you Tehran, New York is 20 minutes, so most of it is in takeoff and landing. Now you understand how easy it has become.
Okay, I have a question about that quickly.
Yeah.
Would you, with this system, would one be traveling in straight lines in terms of if you're orientated with the moon?
Would you like
say,
to go seasick? Would you like to go seasick?
I guess you wouldn't
In
want to
any
travel
case,
in curves at that kind of speed. Is that what you're saying? But
no, but in any case, it is UPS, the answer inside, it's a shipping. See who it is first. Stephanie, answer the door first. Sorry about that. We had to move everything from our proper teaching room, which has been there from the beginning, into a building next door till we settle because of the poisoning. You know, till we settle, we have these kind of discomforts. The thing is, you got to remember, as you have created a new gravitational magnetic field within the structure of the frame, this entity now has its own characteristics, is independent of the Earth atmospheric condition or any others. So you can continuously maintain 1G. The weightlessness travel is 0. So now that you are inside, you try to rock, you fly everywhere. So the difference between the spaceship program now is that you constantly keep at 1G. 1G is the characteristic of the plasma transformation, where at the moment with the space program, you are in a vacuum, so you float, what we call weightlessness. So you have to consider now, if you shake the centrifuge with things in it, what happens to it is more or less what's going to happen to you. It's better to go point by point, and you go from the strength to the strength. Something very interesting happened yesterday with Vince. What Vince has shown is the backbone of the space technology transportation. Sorry about that, Greg. There's the backbone of the transportation. You use different densities to achieve gravitational field difference. In the space technology of the future, you do the same. You choose a softer first and then you go to heavier. Or you go for a fast travel, you go to the heavier and then you go to lighter. In the magnetic field plasmatic strength. So you from here to moon, you go all the way fast as possible to the near, and then as you get near, you reverse the gravitational magnetic field of your system back to Earth. In a way you create a brake. And this is the brake system. We have people here with us today which have seen their operation, that they understand. Hopefully we start collaboration on developing fully computerized programs for system control. I said this is the will of God, and the people who are there to come in, they walk in themselves. And we met this gentleman last Monday. We met you. And he showed me a system, and I said, this is a gift God has given us. They have all the knowledge to be able to develop the software and hardware for system control of all the systems. Would you like to introduce yourself, or do you want to stay anonymous? You can introduce next time. Can I say your background? They know who you are. Yes? I have to explain to you, he's giving me the permission to disclose, and you know why this is, and who the gentleman will be. This gentleman has been, I can say, a partner of the original Apple technology. He's the gentleman who built the first hardware Apple II. Italian, with his son. It's a pleasure to have them here, and the collaboration for production of systems for European section has been, we come to understanding. As we know, we don't sign papers and documents. We agree, and our word stays our bond. And this gentleman, we met last Monday in the meeting, that's why we were away. And we've had several meetings. He has come to the center yesterday and today to understood hopefully part and full technology, what is involved. And being part of the original, what you call Apple hardware program system, he understands what is needed, and he carries as a professor enough knowledge to be able, with other experiences, to bring the hardware and software together for control system of the flights. And I welcome you to the Keshe Foundation family. But can I say who you are? Yes, you better introduce yourself then.
We're all guessing, that's for sure. Thank you.
Good afternoon to all of you. Normally, afternoon here in Italy. My English is not so good as Mr. Keshe English, but I will try to explain to you our activity. I am involved since all my life in electronics. Counter of old Italian, I don't understand nothing for football or something similar because I passed all my life in laboratory. I had the possibility when I was 20 years, only 20 years now. My age is much more than 20. To
Sorry, just one moment, but could you move the microphone just a little bit away from the mouth, please? Thank you.
It's okay now?
Yes, that's better. Thanks. Yep. It's just popping a little bit there. You can carry on.
So I started my activity in electronics when I was very young, and when I was 20 years.
Sorry,
Yes.
I think that's a little bit too far away, or not positioned properly. Sorry about that. I think it's a finicky headset.
Okay. Wait. Now it's okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So, as I was explaining before, when I was very young, 20 years, I discovered, fortunately, the existence of light emitting diode, because I make polarization counter by mistake of one transistor, and I verified that was one light emitting from the junction. I think that I had broken the transistor because of the reverse polarization, but I repeated this test many times, and every time there was light. So in that day was born the light emitting diode that now we use all around the world for lighting system. So after this, I work in different fields in telecommunication and in research laboratory with university when I am teacher for electronics. And since many years, we have one international group that is involved in renewable energy equipment production, and also with our medical division, we have developed some new technology, totally new technology that Mr. Kesh has referred to you before, for making tests, non-invasive tests, for all the parameters of our body. The first one, the first equipment that we named Elysium 1, make 300 chemical analysis of all the parameters of our body in 1 minute without taking blood or other organic liquid. So as you can understand, this improves so much the quality of life, and also money to spend to have a complete and clear picture of your body. The second equipment that is named Elysium 2 had the possibility to make the equivalent of magnetic resonance by image. And not only this, but in the image of the different organ of your body, the equipment with his software show to you where are the different part of the body and in which condition they are, if they work properly, or there is some inflammatory activity, or also cancer. After this, this equipment has the possibility to test, to offer to you a list of normal chemical drugs that are on the pharmaceutical market, and you can verify, you can make a test, virtual test, on the effect of this chemical on your body. So you can verify if taking this chemical, the situation of your body will improve or not. So you understand, no risk. In this way, you don't have risk for your health, but you can start to make the posology of this chemical, being sure that you know since the beginning the result. There are many other possibilities of this equipment, but we will have time to speak with you in next time. The third one, that is named Elysium 3, is equipment that had the possibility to solve your health problem by frequency. And this also is a new chapter of medicine, because you must understand that till now, to transfer information to your body was necessary a chemical carrier, because the technology was stopped in this level. So you need a carrier, technical carrier. Before we need the horse carrier to go around in the land. After this we had auto. After this we had plane and rocket and so on. So we changed, related to change in technology, we changed the carrier but the purpose is always the same, to realize what we have in mind. So speaking for medicine, we have in mind to help our body to stay in good condition. So till now, we used the chemical carrier. Now the technology allows us to transfer the proper information by waves. And so we can sell this obsolete carrier. Speaking with Mr. Cash, fortunately we had the possibility to meet, and is roughly 1 week that we have spent all the day and the part of the night to discuss it, to arrange a beautiful, I can say a beautiful cooperation. We are investigating together the possibility to use all this technology in his program. And really, since Monday, I had the possibility, the fortune, we can say, to change my point of view on the life and many things related to the program of Mr. Cash. And we are here since yesterday. We agreed. Mr. Cash explained to us all the technology or a part of technology. Now we go back in our laboratory production line, and we will start to apply all this information to create something that can help all the people, because our first interest is to create something for peace, for good health, and for quality of life of all the people. Thank you. My name is Gianfranco Liuzzi. Okay, my students say Professor Gianfranco, but I am Gianfranco at first.
Thank you, Gianfranco. It was really great to hear. Does the devices that you were talking about there, are they along the same lines as the Rife?
Can you repeat, please?
You were speaking about the frequencies in the device able to help with health. Is that in relation to the Professor Rife?
Yes, right.
Yes.
As I said, I am an electronic. I use the experience and the work of other specialized people, and I apply in electronics. So exactly what you said before, we took the authorization and the copyright of all the work done by Professor Rife, and we inserted this database in one hardware and software electronic equipment that starting from the Professor Rife database, create different frequency and waves necessary to transfer to the body the proper information related to Professor Rife frequency.
Thank you very much, because I did some research before with about Dr. Rife, and it did make sense, but I found Mr. Cash, so I went further, I think.
Okay, we consider, as you can understand, we consider this only the beginning, but we are making official trial testing with government hospital and with authorization normally by ministry, because we like to proceed 100% inside the law, in the international law. And what can I say to you is that I have done with my hand this equipment, but every time I use him and I see the immediate result, I am surprised at how properly this works.
Yes, it is very fantastic, especially when it brings knowledge like Rife into the same level and goes beyond it. To explain that, I think Rife was looking at a plasma frequency, being able to help in healing that way. So that was just my own thoughts and my own understanding about Professor Rife. And but since coming into the Keshe Foundation and finding the information from Mr. Keshe and going to the position that we are now with the just little rotating reactor and with what Mr. Keshe and the knowledge seekers are doing at the Spaceship Institute, it's come a long way. And there's still lots to go. Yes, no doubt about that. There's still lots to go.
I think it'll be an interesting merging of technologies because, as Mr. Keshe often says, he doesn't use frequency with his observations of plasma and so on, but at the same time, maybe frequencies are an indicator or some sort of, a way of measuring the plasma, you might say. So it'll be interesting to see how those ideas merge together.
Listen, I understand your position, and I think that I need to explain something more that is related to the word of Mr. Keshe that he said before. The point is this. As I explained now, we created this electronic hardware and combination of hardware and software digital equipment. This equipment now is related with Professor Reif database, but this can be related to any other database, as for example the database of Mr. Keshe. You understand? So there is no limit. The technology accepts any relation with other project. You understand? So in this moment we use frequency as, you understand, before we used horse to go around, but the transfer system and the control system that we had that we have in our hand, the technology we have in our hand, as Mr. Keshe explained to you before, can be used normally with some adaptation or change in the project, can be used properly also for his project. I hope that I am not wrong.
Sounds fascinating. We're looking forward to it.
Yes.
Mr. Keshe, I was wondering if Mr. Franco or Professor Franco can be in the Italian workshop, perhaps, which you might want to announce as well. That's coming up.
This is to be sorted by the Italian Keshe Foundation. Italian Keshe Foundation is formally, has been formed, and they will announce themselves who they are next Monday, the 1st of December, is the first Italian Keshe Foundation workshop. They do it every first and the third Monday of the month. Second and the fourth is done with Chinese Keshe Foundation. The most important thing maybe you will understand from this talk of Professor is that the knowledge is simply shared unconditionally. And this was the purpose of the Keshe Foundation. They came here, we opened the doors and we showed them everything. And we asked them to video, film everything that they understand, because they have facilities to manufacture, and he already has started manufacturing, ordering for the parts to be done while he's here. But the most important part is that one of the reasons I've studied these technologies for a long time. As you know, we did some research in Cortrek regarding this system, but it wasn't satisfactory. I've seen the result of this work myself in the past few days. But what is important is, as I said, we'll take no doctors and no medicine with us. From what we can see with the technology and the hardware, which is in possession of the professor and his company, is the diagnosis, which is what was missing in the foundation's work. And now, as you said, the Professor Reich's technology, which uses frequency of electrons, as we discussed in our meeting up to now, we will make the systems which measures the plasma. according to the technology that we understand. So it's only the tool and way of detection will be different. And that's all it's going to be. Otherwise, it will be the same program. So what we're going to do, they use electrons system. We use a plasma of nearest thing to amino acid as we produce them. And then that sets the scene in what is correct and what is not correct and what needs to be adjusted. The company of professor will do all the coming up, all the kits and every other thing, because they have the facilities and the capability to do this for Europe. The change is complete and it's getting more and more faster complete, but we are not using this system just for medical. This system can be used for the same as you hold the stick to disease. The same way we can hold the system as Armin and Marco has been doing for control of the system and parameters. So we have got into the next step, and hopefully the meetings will be so much that we'll go to the next phase of system control for production and control of not only the health. What I've seen, and it's very interesting, this is not coincidental. As you know, the professor joined us in past 2 days here, and Elia joined us past few months, and now she's here full time. As I said, we are miniaturizing the system. So what I explained to the professor today is that we have the capability now on the same system to be diagnosed on one side, and for the development and the release of the processing to change the illness on the other side, on the same computer, on the same chair. What we said, the universal chairs for all diseases, now with the arrival of this technology in our hand and what we're producing has become more, what you call, complete, and in the coming weeks, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months, we will have the first chair that can be adopted with the use of the system which we receive the design and support of by the professor's company, to be able to adjust the chair according to the disease. And this is a major, major achievement or breakthrough for us in completing the medical part of the technology. In a way, what we were talking, this is what I said, you can go to, as you go to a sunbed kiosk for getting a suntan, in the next 12 months, 2 years, what I see is you go to different clinics or you go to different shops with your medical card with the disease on it. It tells what it needs to be done, and then you go in for a cancer, and the next patient goes in for a, what do you call it, diabetic. This has become a reality very much in the next few days, in the next few weeks. It's so much, the collaboration with the Italian is building up, that we will most probably move out of the Sensano to be close to the scientists who are at this level to be able to achieve the what we call the goal of the development. So it is very, it's not accidental, it's unfortunate, and everything is there. Now the scientists, people who understand the work can do this, and we've seen with the backgrounds and the hardware on the table, we've seen this is 100% achievable in coming time. Any other question?
I'm seeing a plasma healing chamber in the near future. You get in and
you need a plasma. You get a plasma healing chair.
Chair, okay.
You need air to breathe as well. Yeah, close enough.
That's an
now,
amazing idea. I really like that idea.
No, but don't forget, we have had these chairs. These chairs have been used. Pardon? It's a good idea. Don't forget, we have been using these chairs for nearly 10 years. Now what has changed is that instead of building one chair, it's a handicap chair. A number has been used, maybe about 50, 100 of them have been built in past 10 years. Where you have, for example, prostate cancer. Dr. Lorenz can tell you where the very first one was built in around 2004, 2005, 2006. for a patient with a prostate cancer, lymph cancer, and a bone cancer. Now, with this facility of control, all we need is to, instead of building one chair, we just change the plasma magnetic field to the next disease. This is what we use for the people with a back injury which they cannot walk. By sitting in the chair, the process of healing is done, the process starts to reverse. So now with the system controls, we can diagnose, and you sit in the chair, you receive what you need. The big question is how open pharmaceuticals are to start the use of these, and how open the doctors are to be able to do it. And the other question comes, Keshe Foundation is a spaceship program. Do we need to carry a doctor of every discipline? Not really. Yeah, Elias says we are staying behind. You can go on your own. We stay here. So this is part of the technology development. We are not in competition. We are addition to the space technology. Put yourself in this position. What happened if one of the astronauts in the space lab today have a heart attack? Or have a stroke? Do we have to keep him for months in the space till we can bring him back? The more people we put in the space, the higher the number of possibilities multiplies. If one of them has due to radiation, high dosage, some sort of disease, do we have to wait till he dies and then throw his body in space? Are we going to do what we did with the sailors? Or we allow these technologies to be on board of even the space lab, that any disease, happen accidentally or not, can be delivered directly. It's a selfishness of us protecting what we have, or allowing the progress of the support of human race on the space. Now we are one step closer, and next week we introduce you to the people who are now involved in another direction in the development and commercialization. They arrive with us on Wednesday. Most probably Thursday morning will be on the teaching table. We are gathering not the elite, but the ones who understand and want to make the change. Any other question?
We are over 2 hours now, which is a little excess for the health workshop, but it's up to you if you want to keep going. I'm sure there's more questions.
We are finished. If there are any questions, we try to answer.
Any questions from your end there, Vince, or anybody else on the Skype call?
I don't see any other questions on the live stream or anywhere else, so I think we should wrap it up. It's time.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We meet on Monday, 12 o'clock with the Chinese program.
Yes.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you very much, Rick. Thanks, Vince.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe, and Professor Franco as well. We look forward to learning more about all that.
I think you're going to hear a lot from him very soon.
Great.
Much more than you think.
In my bad English.
All the best. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.